Okay, so picking up where we left off last week with some little details that I have to finish up in this engine compartment. We've got the wires, the loom held to the firewall with a couple of P-clips, plastic P-clips. Now I've got a large hole over here that I fed the plug through for the windshield wiper motor right there, and I've got to isolate this wire in the center so it doesn't rub on the sheet metal, obviously, and close the hole down somewhat. I had to keep it that large to get past the plug through. So what I've done is I've got a little piece of ABS plastic here. It's about 3/32 thick, and I've cut a slot, and this is a hole just big enough for the wire. And what I'll do is I'll attach this with 2 screws right to the firewall once I fish the wire through down to this little area right here. So it effectively creates a soft rubber grommet. All right, so that's what that's looking like. Installed, just a couple of self-tap screws on the back side. It's close to these rubber lines, so I just put a little bit of that rubber tape over the ends of the screws. Hopefully that shouldn't have to come out anytime in the future or the near future. If so, it's no big deal. Just unscrew those 2 screws, pull the wire back down through the slot, and you can be able to pull that plug right out of there. At any rate, I'm over here working on the Airbox now. What I did was I cut off all the irregular flanges. There was flat flanges and went up hills and over valleys and everything else. So I got that all, so this is a uniform surface. And then I went ahead and I'm using the same stuff that I used for to seal up the cold air intake to the hood over there. The same piece that has metal embedded in it, so that it's, you know, you can squeeze it, it'll grab. It's got little, you can see the little reverse teeth there, so you can force it down over a vertical edge, you know, in this direction here, and then it'll stay there, and then it gives you a little rubber seal there, which is kind of nice. Anyway, it's working good for this because I had this irregular shape that I wanted to seal up, and trying to attach a flange to put a flat bead on here was going to be a nightmare. So I basically just took everything down to where it was thin enough for this to squeeze down over. Reshaped this a little bit, took off the flat flange here that was on this side over here, and went around the perimeter here. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm getting started on the lid by, got a little 90-degree aluminum piece here that I'm shaping to go up underneath here on the bottom side. There's a, you can see there's a little rubber D-shaped bead that I stuck onto the face over here. It's not going to be watertight, but it should be 90% of the air should be then directed from the flow coming in through the cowl as opposed to the engine compartment, which is kind of what we wanted to do as far as getting the cabin air into the car. Also, I've taken that cross bar out over here that stabilizes the shock towers over here, and I welded up all of the holes that were in the top and the front side that were for plastic fasteners to hold a plastic panel down there that no longer is in the car. And I've got it in K2 primer at this point, so wait till that dries, and then I'll hit that with some hot rod black and reinstall that. And just working through all of what they call the punch list items. If you've ever built a house, you know what that means. So anyway, same thing for a car. You got a punch list when you're trying to finish up. I've got some other major projects too. It's not just the punch list stuff. Like that nose is, like I said, I've got to do the mechanism in that, the doors, the headlight doors, the grills. Yeah, that's a bit of a project, but I want to tie up all of this stuff here because getting the hood back on the car with the nose on is not possible by myself. I have to get that on with the nose off because my little mechanism, you see it's over there supported in the other room. Like I said, it'll only go so deep, and so with that in mind, I got to get this whole thing put back together before I can really start attacking the nose again. Okay, as with most of my other build projects, I always like to try to define the perimeter of the thing I'm trying to build first, and then fill in the field, if you will. And here I had some odd things going on. Got a little bit of curvature going here. This little reverse curve is intended so that the cover doesn't interfere with the lifting piston. So what I've got here is this is laying down on top of this. but it's also goes in underneath here, and let's see here. All right, so that goes in that way, and once you drive these 2 screws in through the face over here, it forces it against this rubber bead that's on the back side here. You can see it's a little bit springy there. Okay, so now I got to take it out and I got to finish it up now that I know what I have. Okay, so this is what it all looks like. There's just 2 screws holding it in the front. It's down firmly on those rubber seals. It's tucked way back here against that D-shaped piece on the back side. So that closes that up pretty good. So now I got to take it back off and body work it and paint it up, and that'll be that task. Okay, that's all been body worked, sanded up, primed, painted, textured, ready to go back in whenever it's dry, probably tomorrow. Same with this bar here. It's all been sanded and painted out with hot rod black, and give that till tomorrow to get good and dry. I got the fenders back on. I took a gamble and kind of lost on the length of the wires that go to the little side markers. I was about 1 inch shy, so I had to get in there and do a little soldering in there. That was a treat. So, but that's side markers are in and plugged in. So just inchworming my way along here. Maybe try to get this hood on here next, see how that goes. All right, so I got the hood back on the car, and I had to go a little backwards because I had to reinforce these hinge pickup points because they were flexing still. So I had to take the fenders back off, go in here and reinforce this pickup point. And then I had to fill in this plate, which I had the pass-through hole there. Now I've got it to where it's a through bolt that bolts this plate to the car a little bit more substantially, and underneath there I put some reinforcement so that this thing doesn't, there's a lot of pressure on this thing. It's a heavy hood. Anyway, so a little bit of backwards work, but we're moving forward again. I've got the a little, you can see how I had this little indention made up here now, and to taper in the hood. That's to help, besides that spring picking the hood up, to get your fingers underneath there, because this will be between the nose. It'll be kind of tough if you have to really pick at it. Anyway, put that on there. It's just close that down, and that's what it's looking like with the center scoop grill popped in there. And that's what the hood seams are looking like. They're 3/16 right now. Hopefully by the time they're done, be closed up a little bit tighter than that with the Bondo and all the paint and everything, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, got to keep digging. I still have to put a cabin air filter in before I put that cover on in the back there over top of the cold air box that goes into the or into the passenger compartment. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Okay, one of my most unfavorite jobs, just because of the fact that I'm crimped up in here with the hub in the way, and that's to basically make a pattern to fill out the rest of the way to the fender. This will be made out of black ABS plastic, and it'll be mechanically fastened to this inner ABS liner here. And that extends it out and makes a closure, keeps the rocks and stones out from the inside of the fender. So I'll be ripping this pattern out now and making it out of ABS plastic, and we'll go on from there. I see lots of guys doing these body swaps, and they strip the cars out completely. They take absolutely everything out, which is nice and fine. It prevents you from having to think 3 times about what you're going to set on fire. But it also, leaves the possibility that you're gonna run into issues where you didn't anticipate something that might be in the way of something else. And a typical example of that is, and I knew I might run into some issues with this cover on this Airbox, is when I designed it and built it, I didn't have this bar in place. So I had it fastened through the face. So basically, when I went to put it in, pretty much couldn't get a screwdriver in here, and obviously couldn't get one in. Well, I could get one in on an angle on the bottom, but it put the screw in crooked. So it actually made for a better installation method, which is down through the top. So I put some aluminum flanges in there that are through bolted through my original holes over here with some machine screws and a lock nut on the other side. So it's much more secure than screwing directly into a plastic, even though I had put an insert and in there. It just wasn't, it's just pretty much going into plastic. So I have an aluminum bracket in there, about 50 thousandths aluminum. And so the cover goes in. Again, very tight over here, trying to get it maneuvered down into this hole first. I also had to eliminate that little vertical bead over here, the little seal, because there was just no way to get underneath this piston over here. So, like I said, lots of little things that you don't anticipate when you're in the clear and you don't have the equipment in the way. But you have to keep an eye on it. So bottom line is this is in, new filters in here, and they shouldn't have to come back off. But just 2 screws hold it down on the top side. Goes down, in, pushes back, push down, a couple screws go in, and it's pretty well sealed up. Anyway, that's that little task right there. Okay, so that's one tub done. You can see that's it's kind of hard to see it back there, but it's all closed up there, and it just fits in there without any kind of flanges, so that it's not attached to the outer fender at all. But the ABS plastic is nice and soft, so it flexes with this flexible inner tub, also made out of ABS, and it works out pretty good. Anyway, time to get over to the other side and make that one. So actually, before moving on to the other side, which turns out the pattern that I made for this side over here worked out pretty good. A couple little places had to be adjusted, but for the most part, it's almost identical to the pattern that fits up on this side for that wheel tub, meeting the fender. But these panels over here fit under the car, and this is where the wheel tub terminates on the back side of the wheel hole. And these won't bolt right back up because this is shaped in a way that would accommodate the Challenger and the Challenger rockers and all of that good stuff. And so what I've had to do is I've been under there wrestling and reshaping this one so that it'll fit to this application. And I've had to take a torch and kind of heat this all up and reshape it to flatten it out because it had to be raised up quite a bit. But I'll install it and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the area that I was talking about. There's a cavity up in there, and this keeps debris out of that cavity. And also, it secures the back of the wheel tub to the car. So this flange here came way down over to here, so it all had to be heated and pushed up, and then another flange, aluminum flange, put on here in order to tie it. So it went straight across over here. It's tied over there to the bottom of the frame rail, and that finishes out that little bit of closure and secures that. I went ahead and put some quarter 20s into some. Put some compression type fittings like nutserts into the tub itself and also into the car instead of using these plastic pieces because they weren't secure enough. Anyway, that's what I'm up to, and now I'm going to get around to doing the other side. Okay, so that's wheel tub number 2, an extension, lower extension number 2 in the car. So moving on to the next thing, whatever that is. All right, I just went ahead and put the roll pan up under there because I figured as long as I was working on these wheel tubs, I'd go ahead and finish out these inner corners, and then those two extended panels that are going to finish out that bottom panel that will keep the road debris out from and away from these coolers. Anyway, that's what I'll be up to next. All right, before I go putting this panel back under there, I need to drill some drain holes in this panel back where this bolts to the rear 1-inch piece, that cross tube, because this is going to be on a downslope, so water will gather up in this area over here. Obviously, it's not watertight. It'll eventually get out, but rather than have water laying in there, I'd rather have it drain out just in front of that tube. So I'm going to just go ahead and drill some drain holes right along there. Okay, so here's what it's looking like with that ABS pan on here, and you can see where the drain holes are at the back here, right in front of this bar. So closes up that area pretty nicely. And turns out I didn't need any extra support for these, because once this floor is screwed up to the bottom, they're sitting solid on there. Between that and these pretty heavy duty brackets that I have back here, there's no rotation on those, which is nice. And that's what it's looking like on the bottom side so far. So I've got to go into this area over here and finish that on both sides over here. And that's what I'm going to be up to next. All right, after a bunch of up and down off the floor, taking patterns and making mounting flanges, drilling holes. This is that one little area right in front of the driver's side wheel tub. So it's a good idea that I didn't try to incorporate this into the front pan, because this is crazy trying to accommodate this. There's lots going on under there. I won't even go into it. Anyway, this little relief cut here is because that one cooler at the bottom of the tree has a drain hole, so make sure that that's clear. Anyway, and these two sides are for the machine screws, and then these are for the self tappers. I'll show you what it looks like once it's up in there. All right, so that's what this is looking like. There's the two machine screws over here. There's the self tappers going into that medium bar over here, and then I've got a real odd arrangement where these plastic flanges screwing through the plastic flange into these aluminum flanges that are attached, but in a downward position, because there's just no clearance in the upward position to put these flanges in. I just had enough room to put the screws in this fashion here, which is a little odd, but you can see I got the plastic clearance out for the screws, the body of the screw, but that's the only way I could get those things attached. At any rate, that's what it looks like there to complete out that side enclosure, and this is nice and solid over here behind the cooler. The cooler's got a little drain hole going on right there, and I just got this one little section right here to fill in with some more of this 16th inch ABS plastic, and I'll be done with this side. All right, so this side's done over here. I've got this panel made up. It was a whole lot less complicated than the other side. Just some lines that had to be worked around here, but I was able to put it in conventionally. Just put a panel with the flange, and then screw the flange through the back side right here with some self tappers, and good to go. Anyway, that's what she's looking like right now. It's got a bit of an underbite. Looks like a frog with an underbite. Anyway, that's all I have time for this week, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.